Okay, so this is a stream for the beginnings of some of my Dark Souls videos that I just want to get into a format that I can easily access it. It's something that I've been working on for a while. This is like 2 years worth of like random musings and ideas that I've collected on notes in my phone that I finally uploaded and put it all in one place. And so we're going to be doing it on our character Sister Fried, a cosplay from Dark Souls 3 that I'm putting back in time into Dark Souls 1. She's a cleric, and we're going to talk about how this game makes commentaries about clerics and the church and what their faith is, basically. And yeah, let's just kind of get to it. So one of my first theses is that through its gameplay, Dark Souls molds you into the characters and NPCs that you see in the game. So we have one of our best examples here
You want to hear more?
of the
That's
Crestfallen
all we
Knight.
need. Another inquisitive soul. Well, listen carefully then. One of the bells is up above in the undead church, but the lift is broken. You'll have to climb the stairs up the ruins and access the undead burg through the waterway. The other bell is back down below the undead burg, within the plague-infested Blight Town. But I'd die again before I step foot in that cesspool.
Right, so this is the Crestfallen Knight. This is a character, so there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this video. This is someone who is a recurring character in From Software games. There's various versions of him in Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. He has given up on his quest and is just chilling at the bonfire. He's not trying to do the linking of the fires. He's not trying to push the world forward in any meaningful or impactful way. And he eventually goes hollow in some sense of the word, in the sense that he starts attacking you later in the game. I'm not sure what his trigger is. I'm sure I could look it up. But if you ever invade people in this game, you will turn into some semblance of this guy. Because when you invade someone, you're not really doing the main story quest. You're not pushing forward the linking of the bonfires, which is just playing the single-player game, getting through the bosses, and getting to Lord Gwyn and linking the fire. That's what you're supposed to be doing, kind of in the way that playing the single-player game's main story is contrasted with someone who invades a lot, and every second that they spend doing that, they're not doing what they're supposed to. They're getting distracted. They're sticking around, causing grief for other players or harm for other players. Imminent despair. Good. Try holding it both hands. Yep. Gorgeous people. So, yes, that's at the heart of this. Is sometimes in Dark Souls, the first time you encounter someone, you don't know if it's a player or an NPC, especially if they're using certain rings for Dark Souls 3. And that's what I like to do a lot, is I like to cosplay as NPCs when I invade and when I don't invade. When I summon people into my world. And that line between NPCs and players gets smaller and smaller the more you go into the game. At the start, there's a big divide. Then through deliberate structure and decisions of the game, you start understanding these people and their actions by making the player adopt the actions that they, in fact, start taking. So this NPC in any other game, you'd expect him to just stay here the whole time and like talk and continue giving you the main story quest. But he doesn't do that. he has ideas about what he wants to do with his life that involve you as a prey item, basically. And so he leaves, and he walks around, and he starts to attack people. For any veterans of the game, there's another person that's in this area that is, very interactive with the player and has a whole other quest story, and interacts with this player character a lot. No response. She cannot speak. Gosh, this has got to be the saddest Shrine Maiden ever in all the games. Such a contrast from Demon's Souls and Dark Souls 2, actually. Whoa. Oh, I got healed. I think someone else did a healing spell close to this area. That's cool. That's the other thing, is the themes of isolation and connectiveness is contradictory in this game. That you all have this separate journey and this separate world, but you have these moments of overlap. And one of the ways that they show this, I think, is in... where is it? The Circlet of White. Oh, I don't... Did they take it out? In the original game, there's a item that you have when you start the game that is a white circle. That means that you haven't done anything bad yet when it comes to online play. And if you grief people and start, like, leaving them, then you can lose it. And we haven't done anything so far, so I don't think we've lost it yet. But gosh, that's a real shame that the remastered version didn't have it. But anyway, it's supposed to be like the Circle of White that connects you to a certain level of matchmaking for people that haven't modded the game or are, playing within the rules of the game. So, it's already been 7 minutes. Okay, we have a lot to get through. Maybe we should just read without expounding. Okay, so Dark Souls through gameplay has NPCs making similar choices to you, e.g. invading, or helping you defeat boss battles like Solaire, up in the Gargoyle Tower, which is a lot of people's first boss. But also, like, Solaire just follows you throughout the whole game, and he's your buddy, and that's, like a friend who's playing the game alongside you. If you, have that are lucky enough to have that experience with someone in Dark Souls. Then through deliberate structure and decisions of the world, you start to understand these NPCs' motivations as players, like this player invading you to get humanity so that he can, continue forward in the game. And there's a section on humanity later and their choice of that word, which I'd like to talk about. So all these ideas draw you into the world, right? When you go to the forest area, the Cat Covenant, and you hang out there, and you need to be in that area in order to receive the summons. I mean, you don't have to, but it helps to be in that area to get a higher chance to be linked with the people that are invading that forest. And then you act as a forest defender, and you show up as a blue invader, I believe. But when you go into that forest the first time, you see 3 other player characters, or I guess NPCs, but people that are not glowing and not invasions like this person, and they try to kill you because they're defending the forest. And they're getting the Covenant items for doing that, presumably, and then you, if you sign up for that Covenant, take their place, and you start acting like those NPCs to someone else. And so through this system of integration of actions, the game allows you to act like NPCs and NPCs to act like players. I think that's quite fascinating. So let's move on. When Solaire starts the game, he also has this divide and ideas between his players, or his idea of other players, and you. He's surprised to see you. The game creates the feelings that you are to feel in that moment and then talks about them via item descriptions, such as the dung pie and invasion items in gameplay. For example, Dark Souls 3's long finger in the starting area, when he gives you finally the invasion orb, he says, now you can invade and pillage all you like. Which is the game communicating with a wink and a nod that I know why you're here to play this game if you rushed this early invasion item. For people who at first their actions seem unreasonable, you then begin to see their justifications later. Like the Knight of Love, who is down here when you find him and you start... Lautrec, sorry. Lautrec, the Knight of Fina. Who is down here when you see him and is looking at this lady for her soul, her Firekeeper's soul, so that he can get what he wants, presumably, which is some aspect of, I think, healing the Bronze Knight, or the Firekeeper in Anar Londo that he met and presumably fell in love with, and he'd do anything for her, including horrible things like killing this Shrine Maiden and taking her soul and giving it to the Firekeeper in Anar Londo. So, the Knight of Thorns, Knight Kirk, also does this. He does bad things for the right reasons, and you can fall into a belief in Dark Souls that that's what you should be doing also, or you can be doing also. If you really understand the lore of what Linking of the Fire actually is, you are kind of doing that. You're doing something bad by keeping the restrictions and hegemony that the gods of fire have over the Dark Soul in all of humanity. You're keeping that boundary that we see in the Dark Sign. Oh, wow. No. Where's the item description, right? That is holding in the darkness, right? It's keeping the darkness, which is at the center of all humanity, right here. These tiny black sprites that are shattered into a million forms inside that ring of fire, right? And you're, by doing the good ending of the game, by going all the way through and linking the fire, you're keeping that ring strong so that humans can't advance and can't take their place in the Age of Dark. Now you could say that that's a good thing or a bad thing. A lot of what the Artorias DLC shows you is that Dark goes wild and has really horrific effects, it looks like, on humans, but, you know, is this form of humanity the original form of humanity? Are humans really supposed to look like this? You know, because all the gods look beautiful and, you know, shaped in this way. But, you know, I don't know if that's the real aspect of humanity. Manus certainly doesn't look like this, and he's supposed to, you know, have a bunch of wild humanity inside him. But that's, again, a topic for a much more advanced topic about, like, the overall morality of what the endings are in the game. So you see the justification of these people, right? You see how they want to invade and take things, even when it's from you. And then slowly, if you start doing invasions, you start acting like those people, right? You get to the Gargoyle boss, maybe you lose a few times in a row, maybe it's your first time, and you get a bunch of cracked red orbs, which you can get, what's it? Right up here, like at the starting area. If you, oh, and this guy. Huh. think it's up here. Yeah, I think there's a fall that we're supposed to survive and then get into that secret area zone. Oh, I've been playing so much Star Wars Squadrons that my up and downs are all mixed up. Yeah, I think we can just do this jump. Yeah, okay, we can. Gosh, my darkness is really dark. Alright, so it's Dark Souls, so hit everything first. Right. Oh, that's actually really good for our build. But again, invasions, right? So it's, you have cleric stuff, you have like how to return home, and then you have this. It's just the cracked red eye orb. Hosts cannot use this item. Defeat the master of the world you have invaded to acquire their humanity. The cracked red eye orb allows players to temporarily imitate this ability, normally limited to the dark wraiths of Kaith. Right? So why would that be next to all the cleric items, huh? That sound good? Like a good thing for clerics to have next to their stuff? And Lloyd's Talisman, also a great item. Gosh, okay, I shouldn't just read item descriptions even though they're so good in this game. But yeah, this actually connects to one of the things that I want to talk about. In the outside world, the undead are cursed creatures, and Lloyd's Cleric Knights are widely praised for their undead hunts. This blessed talisman blocks undead recovery, allowing the knights to fight with impunity. So, the player character, right? The player character is inherently an outsider. They are rejected by every other location. We start off in jail, and we're presumably left to rot there forever as this idea of the the undead prophecy, which the Knight of Astora knows, and we don't. So always with the bloodstains over here. And here's our raven friend. Love you. Thank you, Velka. That's it. The Sin Goddess. Oh. Wow. Forgot how slow the starting mace is and how much wow. Gosh. They're really weak at the beginning of the game. Okay, so how much Scimitar's damage do? It's a lot. Alright, so yeah, you start to see the justification for all those mean invaders that you had at the beginning of the game. As you play the story, you start to meet Longfigure Kirk and why he's doing the horrible things that he's doing to you for good reasons. To heal the Chaos Goddess. Or I don't know, she's a goddess. One of the Daughters of Chaos who has been turned into a white spider. Dark Souls shows you why characters that you hate initially act the way they do by putting you in their positions at times. Molding you or incentivizing you to make the same decisions when those decisions make sense to you or are the only way forward, like with the Knight Lautrec. Like, you actually invade his world right before his Ornstein and Smough boss battle in the way that many players tend to do, because it's a great invasion spot, and you know that people have to come through there, and it's, you know, that's also one of the highest areas for blue invasions when you discover that the lies of the gods, and you're targeted by the Darkmoon Blades, who make their living off of shielding themselves from the truth of Gwyndolin. You know, if you know about Gwyndolin, or you go into that area and you find out the truth, you can't be a Darkmoon Blade anymore. You literally are disallowed from doing that if you know too much. So it's also more broad than just incentivizing you. It makes you make those decisions on your own without even realizing it, like with Persilla, right? Many players are just so used to fighting anything big and in a boss-shaped arena that they kill Persilla. Or many people just want her tail to make weapons. Or Kirin, one of my favorite characters from the DLC and the Artorias, you don't have to fight her. But if you do fight her because you want her armor and her items because they're amazing, or maybe you're cosplaying her, she says one of my favorite lines in all of Dark Souls, which is, "You humans, you're all the same." And I think that that's one of the most beautiful lines that Dark Souls has on offer. Of course, you only hear that line if you're already behaving in a way that conforms to her belief of that, right? You can prove her wrong by not attacking her, but if you prove her right, you know, that's the world that you create through your actions for her. Okay. So yeah, sometimes you find yourself doing things that you promised in the beginning of the game that you would never do, like red invasions, because you want to complete the various aspects of the covenants. Maybe you're on a completionist run, maybe you want one of the spells, maybe you want, you know, some of the armor or some of the weapons, or maybe you're bored and you have gone hollow at that moment. The whole defeat aspect of this game is just whenever you stop playing individually as a person, that's when you go hollow in the game as a player, because you stopped. You wherever, and you know, in hollowing, you kind of fall where you lie, right? We see Iron Knight Tarkus and his journey, and you see Solaire and his journey, and you see where these people end up. All right, 1 second. I'm gonna change some settings, and I'll be right back. Hopefully this shouldn't take too long. I'm gonna see if I can organize these notes a little better. Okay, so we're back. We'll just cut to the end of this. Alright, so let's just read. Let's do the name of the title. Rushes to your head. Wow. Wow. Terrible. So you're 10 hours into the game, and then you suddenly find yourself becoming the person that you despised at the beginning, with a low-level PvP red invader who invades you because you run out of humanity. Partially, like, one of the first things that happened to me in that game was, when I first played, was I started getting invaded right before the Gargoyle boss, because you can usually count on people being human in that area, so that they can summon Solaire and Lautrec and get some help for the first boss, because that's when people need it, you know, the most. And this guy. So I got it red invaded. I lost because they had a dedicated early invasion build, and I had nothing, and I didn't know how to play the game. And you know, I tried to red invade the person back, but it's random. You don't end up invading the person that you want to invade, or that you think you're going to invade. You know, the game isn't that kind. So you end up perpetuating the cycle of violence in the sense that you cannot equitably return the violence that is visited upon you with a sense of justice, and you then end up participating in the injustice. I really love the starting area for Firelink Shrine. Just like super decayed. Also that the bonfire isn't in like the sanctuary, like the initial hall. And also that like this treasure chest has already been opened. It's so good. So yeah. So by killing players you go hollow, and by killing NPCs. To get the Uchi Katana, one of the best early weapons in the game, you have to kill the shopkeeper, and that's, you know, what hollows do. Hollows attack people mindlessly to get their stuff. But everyone in the world has this purpose behind who they are and why they do the things that they do, and if you don't think so, it's usually because you don't understand that NPC, which mirrors real life a lot of ways. Is that a lot of the poison things that people believe about the world is partially through a lack of understanding. You then step into the role of the Knight of Thorns when you start harvesting humanities for the Chaos Goddess. Usually after you kill the Knight of Thorns in self-defense, you can become Longfinger Kirk if you want to, and many players find themselves at some point in their playthrough, if they're being honest, doing some red invasions, partially because they're bored, and when you get to a certain level in this game, you just want to play PvP because you've already beaten the story, and you don't hate yourself because you know why you're doing the things that you're doing. Other people might hate you because you're hurting them, basically. You're doing something that they didn't consent to. They don't need to hate you, but they can. Every time I hear that bell, that's a player beating that boss, which is fantastic. Again, that separate but connected. You know, the paradox. But you know that you're right. You're justified. You know, as being a Dark Moon invader, or, you know, whatever you're doing, you find a way to explain it away. You're protecting this covenant. It needs to be done. You want to get, you know, the Gravelord sword because it's so cool, or the spell. Gathering humanity for the Sister of Chaos. You gave up and you're just doing PvP. And in those moments, you've gone hollow. You've given up and you've stopped playing the single-player aspect of the game. You go hollow, you don't finish the Linking of the Fire, you aren't around to help in co-op or against bosses, you aren't, you know... And if you're just doing Red Invasion PvP, you're not helping the Dark Moon Covenant, but the Dark Moon Covenant itself is just an excuse to attack those players, and that's why I run Dark Moon Covenant most of the time. You're still in Dark Souls, you know, being in this game if you leave messages. So you're you always have this presence when you're here. And it's this truth of the situation in the sense that every person that you meet in the game is a person on the other end of a computer doing a thing. and I think that's beautiful. Every person that helps you out is someone who has decided to spend their time and energy to help you out. Every person that invades you is someone who has decided to take the limited amount of time that they have in the world and, you know, take it out on you and to test you. In this game, so many players become one of the crestfallen knights when they give up and they don't finish the game. They don't beat the end boss. And the game references that. It teases you in Dark Souls 2 that it's a choice that lots of people in this world make to let the Age of Dark happen, or to not link the fire, and also that it's inevitable. I'll work on that sentence later. It's the reason that the top levels of soul levels in this game have less people in it, because not a lot of people get up to that spot, and if they do, they usually stop playing. The game becomes lonelier and lonelier as you progress, both in the world through NPCs, and also just, like, literally the player base kind of thins out and needs to be capped artificially at like soul level 120 for meta builds and stuff like that. So yeah, if the game becomes lonelier and lonelier as you progress, indicating the level at which other humans players have literally given up, thereby embodying the narrative of this arduous journey that not a lot of people can make it through. NPCs explain the game by terms of how they joined. People in this game could be seen as NPCs. NPCs could be seen as players. We talked about that already. Alright, so the other thesis, humanity and hollowing and the usage of their term in Dark Souls. So let's just go to humanity. This black spike called humanity, but little is known about its true nature. If the soul is the source of all life, then what distinguishes the humanity that we hold within ourselves, right? So there's a distinction between soul and humanity in this example, that they're somewhat different because one is a resource that I have 2,394 of, and the other is something I have 3 of, right? So they must be different. Alright, so in this game, you come at the dying of the Age of Fire and at a precarious turning point, a choice that you can make to either preserve the Age of Fire or let the Age of Dark come in. So this is the last gaps of, in Taoism, Yang trying to stave off Yin, or White trying to stave off Black. This is embodied by souls, like literally a soul is white, the soul of lost undead. Souls are the source of all life, and whether undead or even hollow, one continues to seek them, right? And then black, which is humanity. So yeah, notice that the black is being bordered by the white. It's being like capped, like trapped inside a ring of white, and that appears to be the same ethereal material that souls are. It's the kind of the shell, the outside skin. Okay, so when the Knight of Thorns curse avoids going hollow by being devoted to a cause and getting a bunch of humanity to give to his Chaos daughter girlfriend, he avoids going hollow, right? Or at least in the mindless way. He's still killing a bunch of people and taking their stuff, taking their humanity, but by being devoted, he does bad things for a good reason. Again, this is from his perspective, but that's what the world's made of. It's made of perspective, so that's his truth, right? As abusive as it is to us. So that, in Buddhism, that would be considered right intention, wrong action. Right. So thesis, clerics and faith. So let's talk about clerics, right? Let's start off with our first cleric that we ever meet, who is just such a bad dude, who just has a job that's supposed to be good, right? And see, we also started this game as a cleric. and he wields a Morningstar Mace, which is a particularly brutal weapon for a cleric. But
Hello there. I believe we are not acquainted.
Hey.
I am Petrus of Thoroland. Have you business with us? If not, I'd prefer to keep a distance, if possible. Hello there. I realize that I have requested that we retain our distance, but I also want you to know that it is not meant in ill will. Here, take this, as a token of peace. No, go ahead. It's for you.
alright, so copper coin. Money, right? It's interesting that the clerics start giving you money in the undead world, rather than the other way around. Usually churches are always asking for alms for the poor, and because they sell no direct product that can be monetized, or rather they resist monetizing their product directly as businesses do. Instead they ask for donations. Coin made of copper, its face shows Old Man McCloyf, god of medicine and drink. That's a great reference to the history of medicine, is that whiskey or alcohol is used quite a lot as a cure. It's an analgesic, technically. Even coins of great value in the world of men have little value in Lordran, where the accepted currency is souls. Those who dream of returning to the outside world are fond of carrying these around. So he's giving you that, right? He's giving you the copper coin. And the idea is he's probably not planning on returning.
Oh my, you again. Oh, I know. How about this? I have to await my companions here anyway. So what if I were to teach you some miracles? Would that please you?
So, yes. I actually don't know if we reject him here, if he says it back, but we're a cleric.
Very well. Then first, a covenant with the gods.
Oh, the Way of White Covenant.
Now let me share my miracles. Only their ultimate effectiveness will be determined by your efforts and your faith.
Alright, so this is kind of what I want to talk about, which is
my companions
what...
are Milady and her young knights. She is young, but burdened by an undead mission. We are her defenses, to keep her from harm. An undead mission? Regrettably, I cannot share that with you. But you are my pupil. Perhaps if you show your faith.
Interesting. So he'll give you information for some money, right? Showing your faith in this case is depriving yourself of income so that you throw yourself into a fear state and you see if you get punished by it, which is what a lot of principles of donation are, is that you get yourself used to giving away 10% of your income so that when you really, really need it, you actually find that you have 10% of your income that you weren't using that you can rely on. And also allows the community to have a fund, kind of a small welfare or charity fund that they can allocate towards individual parts of the community that have fallen on hard times. My family actually enjoyed that when I was a child. So the churches do have good things about them.
Very
Since
well.
that they give you food when you're
not
when you're dying of
all
food.
people, undead clerics are given a mission to seek kindling. Kindling is the art of feeding bonfires with humanity. Through kindling, we shall one day be granted magnificent powers.
Alright, so what they're talking about is kindling of bonfires, which I think allows you to go from 5... or it allows you to upgrade your bonfire, if I'm remembering correctly. And that's pretty nice. It's very important. I think it goes to 15 instead of 10.
Come again. The effectiveness of the teachings depend upon your faith. Oh, hello.
Let's
I
see
will
if we-
teach you miracles. A promise is a promise, after all.
Yeah, so, this guy's a bad
Very well.
dude.
I can surely tell you, of all people, undead clerics are given a mission to seek kindling. Kindling is the art of feeding bonfires with humanity. Through kindling, we shall one day be granted magnificent powers.
It's interesting if he even knows what, like, kindling actually is. So... yeah, that's...
Come again.
throwing
The effectiveness of the
humanity, which
teachings
is the dark soul,
depend upon your faith.
into... oh, thanks, Lunastro. Throwing humanity into a bonfire is using that to make it stronger, is kind of sacrificing the dark soul for the Lord's soul, which is Gwyn's power that has been split up into all the bonfires to link the flame. This is the purest form of a human serving a god, which is what clerics do in the first place. And in this case, it's, you know, we each get to decide whether we like that or not, whether we think that that's a good thing to do for humans or not. Granted, it seems pretty nice because it gives us healing spells. It's one of the only sources of, you know, getting to be pretty and like having your skin be nice. But is that, you know, real, or is that just a preconception that we've been taught by the gods that we got used to? You know, that we like to see everyone have their flesh on their bones and for to be human looking and, you know, attractive like the gods are attractive. So that's like a whole other thing that I don't even know if I can make a video about that. So yeah, clerics and faith, and the nightmare of how bad the reality really is if you don't have faith, or if you choose to, you know, just be human, which in this game usually means like being a dark wraith and harvesting humanity and having like a skull for a face and having all the skin wallow off of your bones, and, you know, it's the darkness might be the natural form of humans, but is that good? Like, do we really want that? I think that that's the absolute key behind the commentary that Dark Souls has for the church, clerics, and faith as a stat in general. So yeah, lots of dark magic requires both intelligence and faith in that way. And yeah, I guess I'll just read the script. So what is faith? Faith is the strength of belief. It is the order, in order to be a cleric that is focused in PvP or co-op and to wield any of the high-level miracles, you have to have faith, right? You have to invest in faith. You have to spend your resources and your time and energy and points in faith rather than any other strength or any other attribute like strength or dexterity, things that you know will have a definite effect. And in order to be a faith player, which is usually strongest in co-op, you have to have faith that there will be other people in the game to heal or to work together with, because you're giving up so much often of your direct damage or your direct like effectiveness in intelligence, or going to be a caster or like a strength build, Strong believers in this game are often portrayed as being naive, or at the very least vulnerable, like the lady that this person is supposed to be being protected. Massive spoilers. Him and 2 other people get her down into the catacombs and then try to kill her and take her humanity. I don't know if that's just because they suck and they're evil, or they are influenced by being evil. It certainly seems like this person has some premeditation to do that by having the correct red eye orbs be right next to the weapons that he's using. Like, for example, this is the Morning Star. Doesn't do as much damage as the other one, but it gives bleed. So, it's less durable, but it's the same weight. So 99 and 90. So yeah, so strong believers are, cleric teacher gives you equipment that has a low faith stat requirement and is best with low faith, in the sense that this item that you can purchase from him, the Thurland Talisman, and I do believe the talisman also, in its mechanics, it has really high base magic adjustment, but not a lot of scaling. So if you have a low faith, it works really well. It's one of the best talismans in the game for low faith. But if you, actually start to understand faith, and like the more faithful you become, the more you realize that it doesn't really give you what you want. Talisman is only granted to high-ranking Thurland clerics and has high miracle adjustment, which, thanks to divine protection, is not dependent on faith, right? So, thanks to divine protection, it's not dependent on faith, right? So that a Thurland cleric, by taking a shortcut, can get all the ideas or trappings of being someone who has high faith, certainly the effects of someone who has high faith, without actually having high faith, without actually investing in it. So,
come again.
There you
The
go.
effectiveness of the
Why would he do that? Dark Souls has an anti-faith surface narrative, but it masks the underlying genuineness that the actual faith-oriented people and NPCs that are in this game are actually very, very good, positive things in this world. But their goodness is hindered and hampered by the other people that don't have very high faith, that have joined in the church and give the church a bad name and use the church to do bad things. And also, you have to ask yourself, is this even the best faith person is only in service to propping up the God's Age of Fire for another round and suppressing the humanity and the Dark Soul from taking hold, preserving the status quo in the Age of Dark and the Dark Soul's ascension. Is this a good thing? That's up to each player to decide. The Dark Moon Covenant also are a faith-based faction and give lots of miracles and are loyal to the gods and kill the Dark Wraiths, right? They have an eternal war against the people advocating for the Dark Soul. As if loyalty itself is bound up or with the idea of faith. Otherwise, it's a good thing because gods don't trust humans with the truth, which is true. And when you find out the truth by either damaging Guinevere or, trying to meet Gwendolyn, the gods immediately declare war on you and exile you. They excommunicate you from the land of the gods. And the gods have secrets. They have lots of secrets. They're actively tricking you. You can't go into Gwendolyn's area. He tries to kill you just for revealing the secret that he isn't just a beautiful human being like everyone else. He has snakes for legs. Darkmoon may do good things, but they might do them for the wrong reason. So this is, you know, again, could be right intention with wrong action, or, you know, it depends on your perspective of whether you judge the Age of Fire to be a good thing or a bad thing for humans. And the gods are actively manipulating humans for their own benefit. But also, Gwyn sacrificed everything to keep the Age of Fire going, so, you know, that's generally considered a selfless act in some way, that he's clearly capable of altruism, or at least his perspectives of altruism. The Witch of Izalith took great risks that she pays for with her own body and her daughters paying the price to keep the Age of Fire going. And we don't know if that was, you know, I'm sure it could have been selfish also, but, you know, the world certainly seems a lot prettier and nicer with fire in it than it is with the Age of Dark. So it's the last gasp of Yang trying to stay off Yin, already said that, and the Knight of Thorns, Kirk avoids going hollow by being devoted. He does doing good things for bad things for good reasons. Okay. So the clerics lying and naivete. The clerics are lying to say unique things the first time that you talk to them. Even professional liars don't always want to tell a lie that's, you know, all the way. That's just something in the game. So they find little ways to lie to you, or little ways to tell you the truth so that their lie is okay with it. This is double talk. The Mafia often uses this a lot. Oh shit! Oh no! Okay, well, at least he doesn't attack us right away. Dang, I warned myself about that earlier. But anyway, in Dark Souls 2, the Miracle Teacher also is like just someone who will invade you and is just looking to get a bunch of souls and money and harvest things, and uses the guise of the church to do it. But importantly, in Dark Souls 3, the cleric teacher is actually really chill and good, and just, you know, has good intentions in her heart, and she just wants to help out people and do the right thing. Now, granted, you can corrupt her if you want to, and give her, you know, dark tomes, which she gets a little sad about. But she will teach you dark miracles if you kind of influence her and force her to do that. Yeah, I don't know if I want to talk about like double talk and stuff. But that's the thing, is you don't have to know any of these ideas. Dark Souls doesn't go out of its way to show you, you know, too much about Thurland and his intentions. They don't really, you know, like I had to work pretty hard to get that cracked red eye orb, and you have to go pretty far in the game and revisit areas in order to find the true story of the game. So at the heart of Dark Souls, it's okay with people missing their content, which is very Taoist of it. It's like a, you know, like a Zen master monk that really doesn't care, like, if you work all the way through your enlightenment or not. He's just there, and you can talk to him if you want to, but he doesn't go out of his way to, like, teach you or, like, evangelize to you or, like, recruit you. It's like you have to show that you want to do it. And people love that, actually. Ironically, people love, in some way, being ignored or tempted because it relies on intrinsic motivation. Or letting people just not listen to it, which is a supremely confident stance for an art piece to have. It's extremely stable, projecting the idea that I know I made a great game, even if people miss all the secrets in the content. I don't care. I'm confident enough in people that they'll find it if they want to find it, and for the people that don't want to find it, well, that's what they deserve, right? They deserve a hollow game. They deserve a hollow experience of life, because they're not curious enough. Or maybe that's, you know, the ability that people have to create the world that they expect to find, or that they're patient enough to find. So I don't know, that's an advanced concept that I'm not sure if I fully understand enough to make a video about. So that also creates the sense of exclusivity and elitism when you do find it, because it's like a shared secret. You know, it's this idea that you have something that other people don't have, and people love that because that's what value is in the first place, right? The only thing that makes something valuable is usually, well, primarily rarity, rather than how directly useful it is. It doesn't go out of its way to be listened to. It is only for those who seek out its truth, and it has many aspects of intentional obfuscation, partially to allow you to create the narrative that fits you best. I've certainly experienced this with playing Dark Souls for, God, like 9 years now? Is it? Has it been? Yeah, 9 years of playing Dark Souls. I've gone through lots of different ideas about how I think of the game, how I think of the world in the game, of what I think things mean, and my perspective on growing up and depression and humanity have all transformed themselves whilst being engaged with this art piece project, and I really laud it, and I'm thankful to it for that. So yeah, next thesis, each covenant represents different types of physical anthropology behavior: cooperation, altruism, selfishness, and spite. We don't have all of the covenants right now, we just have one, but let's see where they're stored. It's been so long since I played this game, I can't even really find where everything is located. Didn't it used to be here? Where is it? I could have sworn that it was attached to us in some way. I guess that's a Dark Souls 3 thing, that it's on your on this menu. Okay, well, Way of White, name of affiliated covenant. We start with that, I think, because we're a cleric. But yeah, it should be in a location where we could search it. Pretty sure. Huh. That's so strange. I could have sworn that we had it in some way as something that we could search or equip. Okay, I guess not. But anyway, the Way of White, and I think the Princess Covenant is like good for other people, but it doesn't really help you out directly. So it's altruism, cooperation, I believe is the Sunlight Covenant. Let me look up all the different ones in order. It's also like the D&D alignment chart is a popular way of looking at it. So there's Warriors of Sunlight, Princess Guard, and Way of White. Warriors of Sunlight is the Cooperation Covenant. It's you go into other people's games, you help them beat their bosses, you get a humanity, they get a humanity. It's fantastic. Princess Guard, you can do that also, but what you get is healing spells, which is altruism. The Way of White is, I think, just one where you get... that's like what everyone starts with, and it's just a white circle with a little bit of dark in the middle. Dark Wraith is... well, first I guess I should explain. Cooperation is positive for you, positive for me. Altruism is negative for me, positive for you. Spite is... or parasitism is positive for me, negative for you, and then spite is negative for me and negative for you. So Dark Wraith is, in some ways, negative for me, or sorry, positive for me and negative for you, in the sense that I come into your worlds, I kill you, I take your humanity. It's good for me, it's bad for you. Chaos Servants, or sorry, the Gravelord's Servant, I think is spite, in the sense that like you have to spend as much time doing that thing as the other person, and it's... I think you lose humanity by invading someone and failing. I'm not sure, it's been a long time since I played this game, but I'm pretty sure that's how it works. So yeah, through all of these different interactions, this game lets you do all the different things that humans can do. In this case, I think it's the most realistic game that has ever been created, in the sense that it allows humans to do the entire gambit spectrum of different human actions to each other in different organization states. So is disparity that is the inciting incident. Oh, that's a different topic. The entire purpose of this world and the state of the world that is here is that inequality has come into this world. Now that is a thing that is currently like a big button political issue for the 20th century is we have these wealth and resources. How can we organize them, right? What is the traditional organization is like, you know, with nobility and knights. Certainly for this time period, it's very medievalist, where you just get as much stuff as you can, possibly by murdering other people to get it. And yeah, there's a lot there. I could talk for too long about the history of society and resources and violence. But it's fire itself that brings the disparity. The heat that it creates a near and a far by creating you know, something that is, I don't know, a central point of activity of fire, like a collection of energy. That was not true in the previous world, where the stone dragons and the petrified woods were all pretty much the same. It was all just a cold, gray world with no changes. But fire can't help but change all the time. It's one of the most fascinating, beautiful things to watch as a human. That's, you know, if you ever have a fireplace and you just sit and watch it, never gets old. So they create distinction, they create the possibility for opposites. This mirrors the Christian dogma of, in the beginning, God divided the heavens and the earth, right? That is, the first thing that happens is separation, or the creation of containers, the creation of disparities between things so that we can talk about them. So that's not just all one thing. That is... I don't know, like, you can't act in that way because the actor and the acted on, there's no distinction between the two. And Western language particularly loves this so much, you know, and other languages like Mayan language or Nahuatl language, kind of don't hold the same object permanence, like something is doing something to someone else in the same way. Native American cultures, I think, what's it, the Algonquin language? I'm looking at my Blackfoot physics book right now by let me just get the author real quick, by, I think it's Dr. David Peat. Actually, I'm not sure if he has a doctorate. I know he's a physicist. He might just be... Yeah, by David F. Peat. Anyway, he talks about that a lot, that when you learn the language of Native American cultures, it asks you to think much differently than Western language asks you to think, in especially your relationship to your environment and your relationship to other people. It's just a continual state of doing or being or experiencing. There's lots of ings. It's not like one thing, it does something else to something else, right? It's not a world of objects, it's a world of experiences and fluid states of being. Okay. So yeah, in this world of the Age of Fire, things are dualities, not monoliths. There is an up, there is a down, there is a heat, there is a cold. All of that is a creation of fire. And life and death, which is the intro. I don't know. I'm not sure. I love watching the intro video to this game. It's one of the most beautiful things, and really shows me the importance of cutscenes. I think that cutscenes are a gorgeous thing that games would do well not to forget. I think they literally are responsible for some of the best moments in gaming in the last 20 years. Mass Effect and many story games benefit greatly from a really good cutscene. Final Fantasy series, notoriously. So, right, but first there's the definition of life, right? The dragons are immortal. Are they alive? Is life created when you can die, only through context, through the separation of life and death? That which cannot die can actually be alive. They can move, but they're also associated with stone, which is a notoriously immovable thing. The ancient trees are characterized as petrified, right? Which is not traditionally how we are used to seeing trees being verdant and thriving and growing, right? All the green in the world. The age of the eternal dragons is gray. And we could go visit it if we go straight down from where we are. You'll see, the roots of the world still hold the petrified trees. They haven't left, and they haven't been erased, although they are slowly crumbling. Alright, so Seath is a dragon who doesn't have scales. He doesn't have access to the immortality scales. So he then ruins it for everyone else. He betrays the other dragons, partially, I think, out of jealousy that they have something that he doesn't. And also, I think, because he is spending his life on an eternal quest to get that thing, to get immortality, artificially through science, through sorcerer magic study. I think he may have allied with the gods because of that, the gods could give him that thing. He certainly sets up a library right next to Anor Londo and seems to have a buddy-buddy relationship with some of the gods, someone, in the sense that Priscilla exists, and it's a thing. Not sure how that worked. But yeah. So, using his thinking structure and his frame of reference of intellectualism, yet the dragons do seem to live on in the sense that there is the Dragon Covenant. Or at least, one of the themes of Dark Souls is that no energy really goes out of the world, it just transforms, and it keeps coming back through various reincarnation cycles. This is one of the common themes of cyclic world states and persistence that Dark Souls is made of, embodied by the player character literally not being able to die. Oh, it scared me. In that they have to come back, right? You keep coming back in this cycling over and over and over again. So yeah, each energy makes new disciples. There's always a few lingering dragons left. Like for Dark Souls 3, the Knights of Artorias, our group of like fanboys of Artorias. And there's always a few lingering dragons left to fight. Can anything really die? Alright, moving on. We're almost at the end, I promise. Alright, so Dark Souls asks you if you really want to be here. A lot of people say that it's a depression simulator, in the sense that it puts blockers up to you and then asks you to push through them. And it's hard, right? It's hard work. We're not really used to things being that hard in our worlds that much. Certainly not in our downtime. But some things are hard, right? They give us blockers. They bother us. They make us feel things. And that's what good art is it makes you feel things. Sometimes that thing is frustration. Sometimes that thing is like a journey to your own self-motivation about why you do the things that you do, why you played video games in the first place, and who you are and what you're really made of. So it makes you become an NPC. Player versus player, the entire map is a viable battleground, which helps in balance. That the environment is often just as dangerous as everything else, and that you can be invaded lots of times and places, right? You can be invaded pretty much everywhere. That's outside of like certain special starting areas, but when you're out there playing the game, it's very high chance that you can get invaded pretty regularly. So yeah, one of the things I wrote about faith, can evil people being part of your club ruin your club? So like, because there are bad people in the church and the church has done bad things in the past, does that mean that when you join the church and try to do good stuff, that doesn't matter? In Dark Souls, the church is portrayed as this faraway structure in distant land. The structure is dubious, and some of the, several of the characters that come from it are actively evil. You might ask why. You might ask if that's why they've been exiled to go on this journey in the first place, all the way out to the land of the undead. But you could still choose to be a good person in the game using the miracles of faith from the gods. Like, if you want to, you can cast heal on your friends, right? That's a good thing. You can be a good person like Solaire, right? Who uses lightning magic that runs on faith, right? You need faith to cast all of Solaire's spells, and Solaire's a great guy. Until he becomes disillusioned and loses his faith, and then he turns into a shitty guy, right? So yeah, I think all right. So one of the consequences of Dark Souls, all right, we're just going to blitz through this at the end. When you die, you get half of your life back. Half-life is your reaction to the trauma of dying. Your HP is cut in half until you get back to where you were, where that trauma happened, like where it originally occurred. I think this is a great metaphor for how people deal with trauma in real life, is that you feel like you're living half of a life, right? In this world, you're, in this case, literally. They don't take half of your damage away. They don't take half of your speed away. They take half of your vitality, right? Vitae, the word in Latin, is used as your life force in early medicine, or your defense, right? Your ability to endure abuse or hits, or damage or bad things happening to you and stay around and keep going anyway. It's how much punishment you can take in this life. I think that is very true psychologically. How many bad things can you let happen to you and keep going? this gameplay is then, physicalizing this trauma. The action is drawn out in a clear way so that you can see it and work through it. I've played this game. So when I first played Dark Souls, I played this game extremely cautiously. I was super, super conservative. I didn't die. I died as little as possible. I always had a shield. I tiptoed my way through the game, took everything like one individual enemy at a time, partially because it was so hard. You saw how I struggled against that skeleton earlier. The game isn't fair. The game's hard. The game, like life, isn't fair. I died very rarely. I don't know if it was a fun way to play the game, but it was a fun way for me to play the game, right? That's how the game made sense to me based on my psychology, which is in lots of ways very fear-based and careful and research-based and doing lots of scouting and finding out about things so I don't get surprised. Each moment and every conversation or event carries with it thousands of... well, I guess this is just about art in general. Every conversation or event carries thousands of diverse, storied, interconnected cultural messages and assumptions. The whole world then becomes ultraviolet with its meaning and context oversaturated with messages. The rainbow whirlwind of messaging is dazzling and paralyzing in many ways. Expectations are often pulling at your psyche to indulge them. Isn't the world like this? Hear me, see me, and tell me that I exist. So yeah, that's just something about text in general, or this game as a concept. Okay, the player character in Dark Souls. So in Dark Souls, you're different from the other because you're different from others in society in the sense that you are cast out from people who don't want you, who are afraid of your gift. That's what the opening cutscene is all about. But you are not allowed an ending. You're not allowed to die. You are not allowed to have a resolution for your problem, right? Which keeps your problem going. One of the key problems of the undead is that you are not allowed to just die. When you die, you come back and you haunt the world of the living. I'm not sure if that's in the gameplay directly, in the sense that this person is someone who's given up, or this is just a corpse body that is left behind and they got reincarnated or brought back somewhere else. I'm not sure what the line between just a gameplay loop of having to get spit out back at the bonfire for players versus what happens to other people. Or even if there's an NPC that you defeat in one space and then comes back in another. Because if you kill these people here, if I kill this guy right here, he dies, and I don't think he gets to invade me later. So that's the thing. But Solaire can die while being, a summon, and then he comes back later. So I'm not sure if that's extremely robust area of the game. It's not that you don't have goals, it's that you can't achieve them due to superhuman, in this case literally, beyond human forces and environmental factors literally standing in your way and preventing you from doing what you kind of are supposed to do, quote unquote, in the sense that linking the bonfires is the only thing that you've been told to do, and there's nothing else better to do, and it helps you by giving you Estus Flask, right? It incentivizes you to do the things that the gods want because it helps you survive. You don't have to do it. If you don't want to, I can run from here straight to the boss if I'm good enough and never touch my Estus Flask, never get hit, never do any of that stuff. So Dark Souls, I think, is about this key question about whether or not to burn a humanity and become human or not, right? This idea of using an item to make that 0 into a 0-1. I think several NPCs either show up or don't show up based on if you're human or not. Like, you need humanity to see people in the world, which I think is a beautiful metaphor. It's a beautiful sentence that you need to be fully human and risking your humanity to have meaningful interactions with others in this game. And I think that's very important. Of course, when you have humanity, you also risk getting invaded and having someone take it from you. And that's, like, I think the whole point of the game of Dark Souls for me is how much to risk, how safe do you feel, and how vulnerable are you to someone invading you and taking a resource that is very difficult to get back, that you don't necessarily know how to get back when you first play the game. Dare to be alive and dare to take the risks that go with that. It feels like a new step of progress, with punishment for death being, or for the industry as a whole, with punishment and death being tied exclusively to the direct player experience and their like psychological state when they make those decisions. This has a sense of real consequence, and being a journey of repentance and atonement. It's a game that's so much about responsibility for your own actions, and by leveling up so slow, one little thing at a time, it really shows you how life progresses. It's very slow. You have to do it one day at a time. You don't get a choice to fast forward, and it's a grind. It's an endurance, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. So yeah, it touches the psychology and emotions of the players when they're making those decisions, knowing that they are inevitably going to make mistakes and going to fail, which will hurt their humanity, but with the hope that you also learn and improve from those mistakes and your way into making things right again, to being human again. And yeah, then you pick up the Great Scythe, and then the sprint starts. Yeah. Because Great Scythe OV. But yeah, the idea is that you're risking something by being alive, in the sense that your humanity runs out, and that shuts off different parts of the game for you story-wise, and that's something that you can't really get back twice. There's only one opportunity to go into a new area for the first time. And when I first played this game, I played through it completely hollow for most of it, and I didn't get lots of story aspects because I didn't want to risk it, because I didn't know a lot of the combat system. I didn't know how PvP worked. I got invaded quite a bit, and I hated it. It sucked, and I got genuinely upset. This game is great art in the sense that it touches your emotions. It asks you how you react when the world is unfair to you and you have low power. Exploration and depression. Yeah, that's actually one of the depression simulators. Okay, so that's actually the next topic. So let's just follow up this topic. Touches the psychology and emotions of the players that move forward, knowing you're going to make mistakes and fail. So Dark Souls, an expression of struggling with being on the winning side of a suicidal depression. The fundamental conflict of this world is that it is undead, in the sense that you are dead, but not all the way dead, right? You're dead enough to be exorcised from society and cut off, which is what the consequences of depression is for a lot of people, is a cutting off of their normal contact with friends and family, things that they used to find joy in that they no longer enjoy, video games, for example, and that you're not allowed to die, right? And in society, that's also true in a biological sense, that like your body will prevent you from dying. If you ever try it out, it doesn't want to do it. It's like, oh no, this is a bad idea. But it's a misconflict between your mind and your body, right? So if I jumped off this cliff right here, I would die, and the game would say you died, right? That's the famous Dark Souls death screen. But then I'd come back, and I'd have less resources, and I would be shittier in the sense that, like, society, when you try to kill yourself, works really hard to save you, and then makes you poor, and sends you to the hospital, and puts you in the psych ward, and deprives you of your, ability to do things in life, and, have certain jobs, or, it costs money to be in the hospital, right? That's not free, in the sense that your work isn't going to pay you to not work and to be sick, right? Now, various political means are trying to fix that in America by having, like, paid sick leave, but, taking a mental health day isn't free. So yes, this central problem propels all the characters and developments inside it forward, which is, do you really want to be here? Do you really want to do this stuff? Because those guys don't want you to do that stuff. See those guys up there? It's a hard fight. It's the first fight in Dark Souls. Really. I mean, it's not directly. The first one's the Abyss Asylum. But, like, this situation up here sucks. You got people... This guy's really aggressive. Oh, no. Dang. You died. And see, we'll watch our humanity to see. Yep, see, it goes from 1 to 0. Oh gosh, it's been so long since I played this game. Right? And we're here, right? We're a lot uglier. Right? We have black eyes. We're still here. We still have control of the player. And, you can get your souls back, called retrieval. And let's see if, yeah, we use the humanity that we have. It goes to 2, but that actually isn't making us human, right? Making us human is reverse hollowing, right? Offer humanity and reverse your hollowing. So, VatiVidya has a good video on this about what is happening when you reverse hollowing, right? Because you give up a humanity to become free from the curse, right? The undead curse that makes you look so terrible. I haven't talked to Sigmar yet. I just talked to Thurland. This is still a pretty new account. But anyway, it's because you can't die that you have this problem, right? That you're not a normal human, that you are exorcised from society, that you are imprisoned, that your life is shitty. It's because you won't be normal. And that is something that I think every depressed person is familiar with, how shitty it is to not be normal, because this world is really set up for normal people. Of course, normal doesn't exist. And, yeah, Thurland is a bad boy. Yeah, it's because you won't behave in the normal way that humans do, and you're driven forward to defeat these bosses, that the world might be mended, and the tattoo of the blind maiden from Demon Souls, right? That the world might be mended, you have to do all this work. You have to do all this horrible, shitty, powerfully difficult labor. Okay. Let's see if I can remember how to play this game in the first place. I'm not sure if diagonal rolls are a thing in Dark Souls 1. 3-button combo. Woof. Yeah, it seems like they just have side roll and... Whoa. Yeah, and also the mace is so slow. It does so much damage, but it's so slow. Jeez. Firebomb this much? Okay. You can't make this a gameplay video. Alright. Okay, just to prove to myself I can still do it. I still got it. So yeah. I think that's, well, the end is the Dark Souls scripts on Euclidean geometry in the starting menu, sun worship and Celtic pagan practices and early astrology represented in Solaire and his, love with the sun and the fact that fire and solar deities are such a big part of this game in the first place. But yeah, look at this starting screen, right? Just a redux of my first video. It features Euclidean geometry, right? And what is Euclidean geometry? It is finding fundamental truths about the world without number theory, which is just using a straight edge and a compass, right? A compass in geometry is just a thing that'll make a perfect circle, right? So what do we see in the Dark Souls script, right? We see light and dark, which is one of the fundamental aspects of Christian dogma, right? God said, "Let there be light," right? And the difference between light and dark allows for every other distinction to be created in the world. So it's the first, elemental, most basic the thing you have to do right away. Alright, so now the earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. So yeah, I think that's what I had in store for today. Gosh, I don't even think I actually have a Bible anymore. 1112. Yeah, the first thing God did was make light. Well, he created the heavens and the earth first, technically, but then he made light pretty much right away. So yeah. And you see a straight edge going all the way through it, cutting it in half. And then you see circles in equal proportions, perfect circles, and crosses of planes that allow the font to be created. They allow the words to come forth, which I think is great. I think it's 100% beautiful. I love the Dark Souls font so much, and I love the first thing that it shows you is this is going to be a game about elemental aspects of the world, the very, very base bones of what things are made of. And if you are an Asian audience and you're familiar with Taoism, the white and black theme would immediately stand out to you as being indicative of Taoist beliefs and yin and yang symbology and the fundamental powers of the world. So yeah, I've been reading a lot of Taoist scripture lately, in the scripture on Great Peace, which is the Yellow Turbans, one of the early works from 490 AD. as well as, of course, the Tao Te Ching again, and then a different book. Well, I guess I'll save that for the next video. But yeah, thank you so much. My voice hurts now. I've been talking pretty consistently for an hour and 43 minutes, so I'll let everyone go about their day. And yeah, resin. Yeah, and peace out, guys. Thanks so much. I do plan on doing one of the Let's Plays about Dark Souls. I just really wanted to make sure that I at least had something that talks about my thoughts that I've been accumulating for the past 4 years on different things in Dark Souls that I never saw anyone else make a video about. Obviously, Dark Souls is this extremely large topic that lots and lots and lots of people have made videos about. And I don't want to, just copy what someone else said. So those are the things that I think. And yeah, I'm going to bring it to a close. All right, guys. Peace out. See you around.